Alexander the Great. On June 10, 323 BC, 32-year-old Alexander the Great fell mysteriously ill in Babylon after a night of heavy drinking. Alexander had conquered the known world, building an empire stretching from Greece all the way to India. He had never lost a single battle, but fever struck him down effortlessly. Over the next 10 days, his condition deteriorated into high fever and progressive paralysis. Strangely, historical accounts note that his corpse didn't decay for 6 full days after his death. Ancient Greeks claimed this was proof of his divinity. Modern neurologists, however, offer a terrifying alternative. Alexander likely suffered from Guillain-Barré syndrome. This rare disorder paralyzes the body's muscles, including those controlling breathing, while leaving the mind completely conscious. Ancient physicians checked for breath rather than a pulse. Alexander was almost certainly fully aware, trapped inside his own body, unable to move or scream as embalmers prepared his living corpse for burial. The conqueror of the world died buried alive inside himself, William the Conqueror. In July 1087, 59-year-old William the Conqueror was campaigning in France, burning the town of Mantes. Having conquered England in 1066, William had grown extremely obese in his later years. While riding through the burning town, his horse suddenly reared back. The violent movement slammed the hard metal saddle pommel deep into William's abdomen, rupturing his internal organs. After 6 agonizing weeks, William died, but the true indignity was just beginning. By the time of his funeral in Caen, his body had been lying in summer heat for days, swelling dramatically with decomposition gases. When priests attempted to force his bloated body into a stone sarcophagus that was far too small, his abdomen literally burst open inside the cathedral. An unbearable stench filled the church, forcing mourners and bishops to gag, vomit, and flee. The conqueror of England was stuffed into a tomb in a ceremony cut short by the explosion of his own rotting body. Richard the Lionheart. In March 1199, King Richard I of England, the legendary crusader warrior known as Richard the Lionheart, was besieging Chalus-Chabrol, a tiny, poorly defended castle in France. The garrison was so weak that one defender was reportedly a young boy using a frying pan as a shield. Amused, Richard walked near the perimeter without his chainmail armor to taunt the boy. Unexpectedly, the boy fired a crossbow bolt, striking Richard near his neck. A surgeon botched the extraction, causing severe tissue damage and rapid gangrene. Realizing he was dying, Richard ordered the boy brought to his deathbed. When asked why he did it, the boy stated Richard had killed his father and brothers. Impressed by his courage, Richard forgave him, granted him freedom, and gave him 100 silver shillings. On April 6th, Richard died. However, as soon as the king passed, his vengeful generals ignored his final wish. They flayed the boy alive and hanged him. Qin Shi Huang. In 210 BC, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China who built the Great Wall and commissioned the Terracotta Army, died at age 49. The emperor was obsessed with achieving eternal life and ordered alchemists to craft immortality pills. These pills were made of cinnabar, containing highly toxic mercury sulfide. Consuming mercury daily, the emperor slowly poisoned his own brain and organs, causing severe paranoia before finally killing him. Desperate to prevent rebellions, his chief advisors hid his death while traveling back to the capital. To cover up the horrific smell of the emperor's body decomposing in the summer heat, advisors ordered carts loaded with rotting fish to travel directly in front of and behind his royal carriage. The man who sought immortality died from his own elixir and spent weeks traveling as a rotting corpse hidden behind stacks of decaying fish. Richard III. On August 22, 1485, King Richard III fought his final stand at the Battle of Bosworth Field. During a desperate cavalry charge, his horse became trapped in deep, marshy mud. Refusing to flee, Richard dismounted and fought on foot against overwhelming odds. A fatal halberd blade was driven upward into the base of his skull, making Richard the last English king to die in battle. His body was stripped, publicly displayed, and hastily buried. The ultimate indignity came over 500 years later. In 2012, archaeologists discovering his skeleton found that the last Plantagenet King of England had spent centuries buried under a modern municipal parking lot in Leicester, specifically under parking space letter R. He was finally reburied with royal honours in 2015. Adolf Frederick. On February 12, 1771, King Adolf Frederick of Sweden sat down for a massive royal feast. Known far more for his love of food than his political accomplishments, the king possessed a legendary appetite. His feast began with massive quantities of lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, smoked herring, and champagne, but the main meal was merely an appetizer. For dessert, the king ordered his absolute favorite treat, semla, heavy Swedish pastry buns filled with almond paste and whipped cream, served in hot milk. Adolf Frederick didn't eat just one pastry. He ate 14 of them in a single sitting. His digestive system ruptured under the immense volume of food, causing lethal indigestion. Sweden remembers him to this day as the king who literally ate himself to death. Pyrrhus of Epirus. In 272 BC, King Pyrrhus of Epirus, one of antiquity's greatest tactical military minds whose costly victories birthed the term Pyrrhic victory, was fighting a chaotic street battle in Argos, Greece. While engaged in single combat with a young enemy soldier in a narrow alley, Pyrrhus clearly had the upper hand. Watching from a nearby rooftop was the young soldier's elderly mother. Desperate to save her son, she picked up a heavy terracotta clay roof tile and threw it down with all her strength. The heavy tiles struck Pyrrhus directly on the back of his neck, crushing his spine and paralyzing him instantly. He collapsed into the mud, where a common soldier recognized and beheaded him. The military genius who survived legions and war elephants was taken down by an old woman throwing a roof tile. Anne Boleyn. On May 19, 1536, Anne Boleyn, Queen of England, walked up the scaffold at the Tower of London. Her marriage to King Henry VIII had completely rewritten English history, causing the nation's break from the Catholic Church. Yet, after failing to produce a male heir, fabricated charges of treason and adultery were brought against her. Henry granted her one final mercy. Instead of an executioner's axe, she would be executed by a master swordsman brought specially from France. The night before, she famously joked that the executioner was very good and that she had a little neck. With a single stroke of the sword, her reign ended. Just 11 days later, Henry VIII married Jane Seymour, continuing his tragic and bloody pursuit of a royal heir. Which of these bizarre royal deaths shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history's strangest moments, hit the like button and subscribe for more extraordinary historical stories.